The Addams Family has been a rich institution on television and in movies over the better part of the last 60 years. And what debuted originally in the 1960s as a hit TV show...
Wowie, wowie. Wowie, zonk. It's just like the launching tower at Cape Kennedy.
No, not that TV show.
Darling, I don't think we should lend our name to such a thing. I think we should turn the other cheek.
No, when people insulted me, I always turned the other cheek.
Well?
I ran out of cheeks. No, there's only one way to settle this.
Yes, that TV show. Subsequently, Saturday morning cartoon, and then another Saturday morning cartoon, a couple movies in the 90s, and a couple recent animated movies. It's had a plethora of merchandise over the years, board games and dolls and puzzles and paint kits and every bit of toys, every bit of merchandise you can imagine, on the cover of TV Guide even. But before all that, the Addams Family was originally created by Chaz Addams in the New Yorker magazine. And that's the subject of today's video, the origin of the Addams Family. Stay tuned and watch this video until the end. And we're back. My name is Taylor. This is Taylor Talks Comics. Thank you for joining me. Please give the video a thumbs up. Comment down below with any of your thoughts on the Addams Family, New Yorker magazine, or anything to do with comics. I'll talk to you guys down in the comments. And subscribe if you haven't already. This is part of my 31 days of horror comics all throughout the month of October. Every single day I've been producing a different video on a different horror comic or horror comic related topic. And I'd love for you to subscribe. And if you haven't missed out on it, or if you have missed out, on any of those videos, there's a handy dandy playlist over the playlist tab of my channel called Halloween Horrors 2025. And all the videos that I've done so far this month are all there for you. So today's video is about Chaz Addams, one of my favorite cartoonists that I've kind of discovered over the last couple years, as far as just wasn't on my radar. And that's through the New Yorker magazine. The New Yorker magazine, I've talked about on my channel a few times, has been something that I've been endeared to kind of through when I was going through college, and I was going to college for journalism, and New Yorker magazine was one of the stalwarts of that. But also just their history with comics and things. And one of the cartoonists that stood out to me was Chaz Addams, and I didn't know even that the Addams Family started off as a cartoon strip in the New Yorker magazine. I had no idea. I thought it started off as a 60s TV show, and then it just has been readapted and rebooted ever since. But this is a collection that I found at Half Price Books, obviously. It was originally, it looks like, sold at a Barnes & Noble. And then I have these as well. And this was in a slipcase. I think a lot of people probably have this collection that are interested in it. It comes in a slipcase. A lot of people found it at Ollie's or just for cheap at Barnes & Noble. My wife, my lovely, beautiful wife, actually bought it for me for Christmas one year when she knew I was getting into the New Yorker. And it's just a great collection. I think they're both hardcovers that are in the slipcase have like 600 pages each of famous comic strips that appeared in the New Yorker. It looks like this on the spines. And since usually this is what happens, is that I have these collections. I've not read every single page of them. What happens usually is I'll find a cartoonist that I know has a history with the New Yorker, like Barbara Sherman. I did a video on her a couple months ago, or somebody. Once I hear that name, I'm like, oh, they did comics in New Yorker. Let me pull out my books, and then I'll go back to the index and look up their names, and then go through all the strips that they did. So Chaz Addams, when I found him, I instantly went through here. Now the sad part is, and I'll go through this in a second, is that none of his Addams Family strips appear in these books. Now, Chaz Addams did a lot of strips for the New Yorker throughout the years. The Addams Family was just one of kind of like the ongoing themes that he had. And he only did about 50 or so strips, and they're all one-page strips. I guess I can just open this book and show you real fast. This is a fun collection, but it doesn't collect every Addams Family strip. And I kind of feel like, if this exists already, let me know in the comments, but I've not been able to find like a definitive book that has every single Addams Family strip in it. I feel like that's just is ripe for the picking as far as a good publishing endeavor that somebody should do. Here's Pugsley on the bottom here. Let me show you an example of the Addams Family strips here in this book. Okay, let me see. because this book itself doesn't have every Addams Family strip in it. It only has a few. So the Addams Family strips were just like these one panel strips with a funny little caption at the bottom. And that was it. And there's only like 50 or so of those. And that was the beginning of the Addams Family. Now, when the TV show happened in the late 60s, I'll just keep flipping through this book to show you off some of the Chaz Addams artwork while I'm talking. It was then adapted into a TV show in the 60s that Chaz Addams was originally working on the character designs and things and meeting with the executives and the producers and what have you. And even named some of the characters, because as you can imagine, reading these one panel strips, not everyone has a name. Like Morticia and the husband, and I think Lurch maybe had a name, but I know Pugsley and Wednesday didn't have names until the TV show. I think that's right. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on that in the comments down below. But not all the characters had names, because as these one panel strips, you're not really telling a full story. You're just trying to make a punchline, a quick joke. But in the TV show, he was doing character designs and naming characters. But then that was it. They kind of removed him from the project, or just at least said, like, we don't need your help any longer. And then it's kind of went on to making the rest of the show on their own. And if you read these strips, the Addams Family strips, you'll see how they're definitely deep in the macabre, definitely existential dread. You can just tell that Chaz Addams, even in his non-Addams Family strips, you can just tell he had a precarious curiosity with death, and the idea of, even like right here, for heaven's sakes, can't you do anything right? This guy's trying to off himself as his wife walks in on him. And just like that kind of humor is like, she walks in on him, and rather than freaking out that he's trying to kill himself, she just makes a joke about how you can't do anything right. That's kind of like what we're dealing with here. A lot of death, or thinking about death, or pondering death. I love this strip here too. This old lady is like cleaning up the bullet shells as these two gangsters are shooting out of the window. And that's what the Addams Family was originally. It was like these not evildoers, but these like monstrous people living in a house at the end of the cul-de-sac, just like on the TV show. But they loved death and anything to do with the horrible and the negative. Now, the TV show would up the comedy and make it kind of a little bit more hokey, as far as not really going full force into that existential dread and macabre humor that Chaz is known for. Here's another one, not Addams Family related, but now don't come crawling back asking me to forgive you. And the husband has a bag and an axe. So there's not a lot of Addams Family strips in this book, but it's the most I've been able to find. And again, if there's a definitive collection that you're aware of, even if it's out of print, let me know. I've not been able to find it. I found some collections of Charles Addams strips, just like this one, but nothing with the Addams Family strips in it. I'm trying to see if I can find any more Addams Family strips. Now, the reason why it only lasted about 50 or so strips was because dates of first publication was because the editor of New Yorker magazine thought that his Addams Family strips were too depressing, like in the macabre, and wanted to do happier strips, or not so, negative strips, have you. So, like I said, in these collections, there's no Addams Family strips in them. So if we go all the way back to the index, this is the second volume here. You can see Charles Addams has quite a few strips in here. Looks like, 20 or so. And then in the next volume, same thing, he has a lot of strips in this one as well, but no Addams Family strips. And as I was going through here trying to find them, I realized that maybe that's a rights issue. Maybe Charles Addams or his estate, because he's since passed on, has something where you have to get their permission in order to reprint his strips. So the New Yorker doesn't own the rights to the strips. So, the editor, though, like I said, he didn't want any more Addams Family strips to be published in the New Yorker. He thought they were too depressing or too sad or too tragic, too dark in humor. Here's a Chaz Addams strip right here. And that was even during the TV show. So the TV show, the original Addams Family strips debuted sometime in the 1930s. The dates are a little fuzzy on when the first one debuted. But here's another Chaz Addams piece. So the TV show in the 60s, when that came about, and Chaz Addams was just kind of, he would do a lot of strips for the New Yorker, but every, few months or so, he'd do another Addams Family strip over the course of the years. And even in the 60s when the TV show popped up in popularity and things, the editor still didn't relinquish his mandate of no Addams Family strips. He just said no, even if the TV show is popular, we don't need those strips in the magazine. So it's really kind of unfortunate because we could have had a whole bunch of Charles Addams strips over the years. Here's another Charles Addams piece with Stonehenge wearing all those sunglasses. And then, oh, here's a good Edgar Allan Poe strip. There's a few Edgar Allan Poe strips throughout this collection by Charles Addams. And it just, you can see Edgar Allan Poe trying to finish off the quote the raven nevermore. And all these ravens are saying, shut the door, blood and gore, carnivore, apple core, battle door, either or, what a bore, 2x4, mop the floor. Just, that's kind of the humor he would have. It's like this kind of dark, silly humor that's dealing with the macabre. But, yeah, so even though the show is ripe for all the merchandise that I mentioned before and showed off in the intro, and all the movies that have come out, and all the TV shows, there's even a Netflix series right now called Wednesday that is super popular, based on the character that Chaz Addams created. And even with that, there hasn't been a collection of Chaz Addams, Addams Family strips, at least not recently. If there is one, I don't think it's in print any longer. And I feel like that's such a missed opportunity. I feel like every Halloween you could come out with a definitive collection of Chaz Addams strips, not even just Addams Family, but maybe all the Addams Family strips, since there's only 50, and all the other macabre, dark humor nature ones you can pack in there as well. A perfect gift for Halloween or anything that you want. So it's one of those cartoonists that I'm constantly trying to seek out more and more of his work, because I just love his art style and his humor. But yeah, that's it. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know your history with the Addams Family down in the comments, or Chaz Addams, what have you. Whether you're an Addams Family kid or a Munsters kid. Admittedly, as far as watching the reruns, I was a Munsters kid, but I think that was more because that was what was on TV and the rerunning through the different markets that I lived in. I don't even remember seeing the Addams Family TV show in syndication or being reran when I was growing up. I still love the Munsters. I'm not saying that they were bad or anything. It's just that's what I grew up on. But I've seen the the 90s movie. I've seen the recent animated movies, which I think are really good. But anyways, that's kind of my history with the Addams Family. So let me know in the comments what yours is. Comment down below. Give the video a thumbs up. And subscribe if you haven't already, because tomorrow and every other day, every continuous day of October, I'll have more horror comics videos. So you want to make sure you subscribe and don't miss out on that. And thank you guys. Keep talking comics.